Hi everyone, welcome to how to build an outdoor shelter for your house. Let's get started. You can build these lots of different ways. This is kind of the way that I've whittled down over the years. And the most important thing is that it's structurally sound. You don't want it to like blow away because it's definitely like a giant sail. So this is structurally sound, and I hope some of these elements from this might help you in your building, but put your own creative twist on it. Let's get started. So first off, I like to have all of the wood delivered by the hardware store. It's just really easy. And then I like to set it up organized in the backyard. Here are my glue lamb beams, my 2x6 rafters, my 2x4 purlins, my roofing, and my 4x4 posts. And a thumbs up hello. Here is where we are going in. You might need to pour your own concrete slab. This was already here, but this video is mostly about the woodworking. So first we'll start with how to get it attached to your slab here. So you want to lay out your brackets onto your surface, and you want to try to measure them so that they're even. One way to do that is to measure across. You go from there over to that side and then the other diagonal, and you want those numbers to be the same or very close to the same. So mine is 155.5, and I think it was probably 156 the other way. Either way, do your best to get it even. So then you're going to need a rotary hammer drill, and this is probably a $250 item. It's really well worth it if you can get one or rent one. And it will allow you to drill into the concrete like this. You could set a depth gauge with tape or with the little stick there, but you really just want to let it bounce on the concrete. You're not like pushing it in too hard. And then you're going to want to get your dust out of the way, and then you're going to also want to blow the hole so that there's no dust in it, because you won't be able to get your masonry screw, which we have here, all the way in it. So those are the tools you need to get your drill. This one comes with this little metal piece, and then you're off to the races here. And I like to use a square to kind of help me get it even, and then I finish it off. Now I'm just checking my 90-degree here, making sure that's going to cut evenly. And I cut my first post to the height that I want, which was about 7.5 feet on the lower side. And I was just finishing it with my saw there to get an even cut. And I placed it, gave it a little sandy, which is always useful, before it goes up. And then here you'll see I'm scabbing it, which is just I'm using scrap wood and clamps to put it upright while I bolt it in. Then I use the this little screw washer thing just to hold it in place for me while I drill the holes for the bolts. So there I am drilling the hole for the bolt. You'll probably have to go in from either side. And then set your bolt and get your washer and your nut on the other side. And while I'm doing this, just a little tip, I'm always checking my level. The further you go along with it being unlevel, the harder it is to bring it back. So just, start with it as level as you can. You can always micro adjust using the scabs. And then I'm tightening up with my ratchet here. And there you go. That's our first post is finished. Now, in order to get the second post level, you're going to need to do a little trick. So I taped my level to this really long 2x4, and I'm going to use that to basically sling a even line from one to the other, because the ground is not level. So in order to make that level, now this is our technique. Place it on the post you want and then mark to the underside, and that will be the same height as the other post. Then I went ahead and cut my second post here. And you will see that that will allow us to have level posts. And you can use this trick in a lot of different ways, but it's a good application here. And there you'll see, level. So now we got our beam. We put it up there. I went ahead and marked a center line, and then I centered the center line on it. And then I marked out the posts because I'm going to notch the posts. It's just a style that I like. I think it makes it look kind of good and very craftsman-y. And then I also mark out my cantilevers or my termination on the ends of the beams. So I just measured to the triangle that I ended up liking, what the top is to the tip. And then I repeat that on the other side. And then I want to go ahead and draw those lines all the way around it. Because otherwise you might get confused as you're going around. It's just good to have it fully marked out for yourself. And then I'm cutting the notches here. So I set the depth on my skill saw to the depth I want the notch to be. And then I run it where the post is going to be. So just do a bunch of cuts, and that'll let me loosen up all that material. This is a pretty common technique for giving yourself little notches. And then get to know your chisel better. Chiseling is fun and kind of difficult, and there are like master chiselers, and I am not one of them, but I like to have fun. I find it incredibly satisfying. And I just have a cheap little old chisel that I've been using for God knows how long, and I basically get it to its final depth with the chisel. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut my triangular sides here. And I'm going to actually finish those with the handsaw. Even though it takes a minute, it will give me like a pretty even and flush end on it, which I can't do as easily if I flip it and saw it on the other side. It kind of tends to not line up. So now we've scabbed going in this direction because the bolts are holding us in the other direction more or less. And Dave and I are going to go ahead, and we've got our first beam up there, as you can see. Now we're going to go ahead and get our second beam up, and we're going to repeat the process. We also have these little black brackets that I got at the hardware store that you may have seen in the video earlier on, and those are super easy to install. You just drill and drive them. And I just think it's just another easy way to just get the beams on there solidly. So now here I am repeating the process, doing the chisel cuts, and marking it all out. Now we're going to start with the rafters. So we're going to do something called a bird's mouth, which is just like a little cut that lets the rafter rest flatly on the beam. Here's my trick for it. I take a piece which is the same width as the beam. It's like a little biscuit. I put it up there, and then I just trace that out onto the rafter, and that gives me a little bird's mouth cut. There's like a way you can do it with like math and these really cool, the speed squares flipping left and right and whatever. But honestly, I'm not that I'm not that good at math, and I like things to be quick and easy. So I do that on both sides, both places where the rafter meets the beam. And then I also give myself like a slanted cut on the end of the rafter, which is what I'm cutting here. Just for style, you know. And now we're going to put our first two rafters up. I have this double rafter system that locks the bracing into place. And I do that because, frankly, these things are above people's heads and they're shelters, and they should be safe. So I like to do the knee braces in this way because I can pretty much guarantee that. So right here for the knee braces, you'll see Dave has put up a piece of wood up against the rafter in the post. We're just going to mark the angles on that piece, and we're going to transfer them over here to the 2x6 that we're using. And we're just going to cut those as straight and evenly as we can by eye. And doing that will allow us to get the piece in place the way we want, as you can see right here. So yeah, we got it clamped up there, and I use this kind of multi-clamping system just so that once I'm drilling and setting the screw, I'm not like having to micro adjust it with my hand. So I'm using this powerful drill that's corded, and then these black Timberlock screws. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but they sell them at the hardware store. And they just have a nice look on them. Like they look like you can finish a piece with them. So here I am on a different moment, but it's the same concept, drilling the hole with a long drill bit and then setting the black Timberlock screw. Easy peasy. And then I go up to the top of it, and I'm going to drill 2 holes. There we go. And those are for my bolts, and then I put the bolts on, and you'll see, there you go. It's really not hard to make those, and you just need the right tools and the right idea. So then I'm going to mark out all the places where my rafters are going to go. I'm going to basically divide that space evenly by the number of rafters I'm going to put up, and then mark out those distances. And then I'm going to just lay them up there, and I'm going to put these little Simpson Strong ties up there. I don't know, it's just another layer. There's like a lot of ways you can attach things and make them safe. You see I'm also putting some of those black Timberlock screws in through the top. That's a good technique as well. It should just feel really sturdy. I like to kind of overbuild a little bit because I don't ever want to think about these things when I walk away from them. Here's another brace that I literally just take that piece, put it up, and mark it. A very similar technique to how I did the other facing ones. Bing, 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 bing. You just don't want to waste as much of that board as you can. You want to, conserve your lengths. And I'm always going around checking my level and my square and stuff like that. Very, very square. That's quite satisfying. And then I'm going to go ahead and get those in there. I actually just used a clamp kind of in a clever way or whatever, and then drilled and plugged it up there. So good. Then I'm going to measure out my distance on the rafters, mark it out, and start setting up my purlins. This is what the roof is actually going to lay on. And the purlin rafter system is something a buddy taught me a long time ago, and it's used everywhere, and that's because it's just super easy and solid. Makes a lot of sense. So then I lay out my purlins in those spaces that I'd marked out for myself. Some people use like chalk lines to mark it out, and that's a really good way of doing it too. I don't entirely mind if it's just me marking it out on like one side and the other side, and then in the middle. And then I went ahead and laid a tarp down because you can stain the concrete with this one application varnish I use. And you just want to, take your time, drink some coffee, drink some water, pray to God. The part where you varnish it is actually not to be underestimated. It is a beast. It takes a long time. There's the owner watching me labor in the heat of summer. But it is very satisfying once you are done. So, because then you're like, oh, we are almost done here, people, and it's a beautiful thing. Then I go ahead and throw a panel up there. I mark with a little highlighter how far out I want it to go. So I would say like 2 or 3 inches off of the tip of it. And then I continue that line with a speed square across there. And many people like to cut their plastic with all different kinds of tools. And I know it probably isn't efficient, but I absolutely do not mind doing it with the hand cutters because I can get such a clean cut. And I've had the experience of like burning the plastic before. And I just know I cannot have to go buy all the roofing again. So it's almost worth just putting on some nice music and making it by hand. I really don't mind. It's peaceful. It's nice out there. The smell's good. Nobody bothers me. The kids over the fence were like really funny. They stuck their fingers through the fence and they were like, "It's a worm." And I was like, okay, y'all are funny. Anyway, so I put the screws for it on the high parts, and then I just try to line them up nice and even though no one will see it, I'll know in my mind. And there you have it. We built a nice little awning, and it wasn't terribly difficult, any of the steps. It felt good. It was fun. The client was super happy, and I think it looks better than just kind of schlocking it together. I think doing a nice one is worthwhile because you're going to see it every day, and you'll appreciate the quality of your own work if you take the time. So, hey, thanks for watching. I hope you had a great time, and much love and peace, my friends. Take it easy.